4 picks one word. Let's begin. First word. Second word. Third word. Fourth word. Fifth word. The correct answers are What are your answers and what score did you get? Comment it down.
Good morning, everyone. For today, I'm going to talk about social theory of justice. So, justice is about how society decides to distribute resources, rights, and responsibilities among its people. Different economic systems have different ways of deciding what is fair. Socialism is one such system, and it focuses on equality, freedom, human dignity, and meeting people's needs. The socialist theory of justice tries to ensure that everyone benefits from the collective efforts of the society. Socialism is based on the idea of equality of human rights, freedom, and dignity. This means socialism believes everyone should have an equal, dignified life. In this system, the ideal form of distribution will be from each according to his ability and to each according to what they need. This is the heart of socialist justice. People work based on what they can do, and people receive based on what they need. So there are 5 key principles of socialist justice. So number 1 is abolition of class conflict. Socialism stands for the abolition of class conflicts through the socialization of means of production, meaning by making factories and resources owned socially, the rich and poor divide will reduce. Example, there is no boss versus worker because the workers themselves or the store own the workplace. Number 2 is maximum social welfare and justice. Socialist production is based on the idea of maximum social welfare and justice. This means society tries to benefit everyone, not just the wealthy. So for example, the government ensures free education and healthcare because everyone needs them. Number 3 is social ownership of property. The social properties are held by the state, the collective firms, and cooperative societies. In other words, resources do not belong to individuals but to society. Example, public transport, energy supply, big industries may be run by the government. Number 4 is no exploitation. There is no exploitation of one by the other. This means no one is allowed to make huge profits off the hard work of others. Example, no factory owner becomes rich while workers remain poor. Number 5 is collective work and collective benefit. So production is done by the people and for their maximum benefit. In other words, everyone works together and everyone gains. For example, if a cooperative farm earns extra money, it builds better community facilities. So there are also 4 criticisms for social theory of justice. Number 1 is no link between contribution and wages. The remuneration is not based on contribution but on the needs of the people. This practice cannot be said to be just. This means that hard work is not rewarded because everyone is paid based on needs, not effort. For example, a worker who produces more goods earns the same as someone who works less. Number 2 is needs are ambiguous. The needs of people are very ambiguous, but what type of need is to be taken into account under socialism is the question. In essence, needs can be physical, emotional, present, or future, so it is hard to measure fairly. Example, should a person needing a car for work get it, or a family who needs one for medical emergencies? Number 2 is no incentive for productivity. Since remuneration depends on needs and not on ability or contribution, There is no incentive for the workers to increase his productivity. In contrast, if effort is not rewarded, people may stop working harder. For example, a farmer gets the same benefits whether they produce 50 or 100 bags of rice. They may not push themselves to do more. Lastly is individual freedom may be restricted. Under socialism, individual freedom may be restricted because the occupations will not be chosen by free will, meaning people might have to work in jobs the state assigns, not what they personally want. For example, someone who wants to be a musician might be told to become a factory worker because society needs more factory workers. So the socialist theory of justice aims to create an equal society where everyone's needs are met and no one is exploited. It promotes social ownership, dignity, and collective welfare as emphasized in the textbook. However, the criticisms show that socialism may struggle with issues like lack of motivation, difficulty measuring needs, limited individual freedom, and absence of rewards for hard work. Understanding both sides help us appreciate socialism's goals of fairness and equality, while also recognizing the practical challenges it faces.
Good day, everyone. So today we will talk about John Rawls' theory. John Rawls was a philosopher who wrote a book in 1971. He created a theory to make society fair and offers an alternative to utilitarianism and intuitionism. It focuses on fairness and equality. So, the main goal of Rawls' theory is that society should be fair to everyone. All people should have the same basic rights and be treated equally. Everyone must also have equal chances in life, no matter where they come from or what family they were born in. Three principles of Rawls is equal liberty, equality of opportunity, and difference principle. The first principle is equal liberty. So equal liberty, every citizen should have the same basic freedoms, which includes freedom of speech, human rights, owning property, or freedom of expression. These freedoms must be the same for everyone, no matter who they are. Like, nadatuman ka or public ka, like kanang pinaka-list ng opportunity sa mga tao. So, for example, in a fair society, all people, rich or poor, can express their opinions freely ba? Kanang ma-express nila ilang opinions na kanang like kanang walay kuan ng mga tao, walay like magpugong ni mga kuan ko siyang ma-express kung unsa imong ideas and opinions sa uban. So everyone also has the right to follow their own religion without discrimination. That is equal liberty. Like unsa imong religion or unsa imong kanan nga naandan or imo ang kwan sa imong family, kanang kailangan po nato sila i-respect, kanang dili nato sila i-discriminate kung inana man nila religion. So, the second one is equality opportunity. Everyone should have a fair chance to succeed. Your success should not only depend on your family, wealth or background. Wala siya nag-depend. Sa imong pagka-success, wala siya nag-depend sa like kanang kung unsa imong status in life. Like if ma-success ka, kunwari, pugoy ka gikan, then if ma-success ka, wala siya nag-depend na ay gikan ko sa pugoy na success ko, something like that. So everyone should have access to education, jobs, and opportunities. So ang example ko lang, isa ko sa example, kunyari sa isa ka colleges, nag-offer sila ang scholarship sa students na nag-work hard, pero dili lang para sa mga katong mga dato, kundi para po atong sa uban nga nag-kuan po sila kanang kunyari nakakuha sila og higher grade, like nag-offer ang school na kay scholarship or discount, something like that. So this it shows equality opportunity. So the third principle is difference principle. So everyone should have equal freedom, which is the basic freedom, which is human rights, freedom of speech, and civil liberties. So freedom to own property and express yourself. So these basic goods must be shared equally because they are essential for a meaningful life. So, for example, higher taxes on the rich used to help the poor. So programs that support low-income families and talented people benefit society and also help the disadvantaged or mga poorest member group, something like that. So for example, the difference principle says inequality is okay only if it helps the poor. For example, if rich people pay slightly higher taxes, the money can be used for free healthcare, education para sa mga mahihirap or sa poor. Ginagamit nila ay kunyari ang mga dato ay nagkuhan sila higher taxes, then kanto ilang money ang ginagamit iano po ito siya sa free healthcare and education para sa mga lisod na something. So next is claims about social goods. About Realse theory is Realse also explained that what people get in society should not depend on natural gifts or what they inherit. The difference principle helps fix natural and social inequalities. So next is original position. Original position must imagine they are choosing roles without knowing their status. So this is called the original position. In the original position, you don't know what your life will be like. Wala ka kabalo if di panganak ka, kunyari, di panganak ka, syempre wala, di ka kabalo sa iyong status in life, wala ka kabalo if dato ba ka, or lisod ka, male ba ka, or female ka, or kanang smart ba ka, or dili, so, di panganak ka, wala ta kahibawa na. So, you make roles that are fair for all people. For example, you wouldn't create a role that harms poor people because you might end up being poor, something like that. So, veil of ignorance. The veil of ignorance. The veil of ignorance meaning they don't know their class, wealth, intelligence or skills. You need to choose that treat everyone equally. The veil of ignorance hides your identity, so you cannot be biased. Like you don't know if you are rich or poor, smart or not, male or female. So again, because of this, you choose rules that protect everyone equally. This helps create fair principles that everyone can accept. Universalizability and reversibility. Okay, Realse says that the principle chosen must be is fair for others must also be fair for you. Like, kung sa uban, dapat fair good para sa iba. No biases. So, the purpose of Realse principles is to divide benefits and responsibilities fairly and to guide social cooperation, and they help us check if our social system is fair and to ensure that the welfare of the worst members or underprivileged people is protected. Realse uses a hypothetical social contract. People in the original position choose principles that everyone would agree. This contract becomes the foundation of justice. Justice happens when rules are fair to all members of society. So the main criticism of general theory is one is original position is hypothetical. Ako na lang siya. So, pasabutan niya, it doesn't show what principles people actually agree or to abstract. Basta mga siya eh. Kung ano siya ka lang so abstract or imaginary na kayo daw ang criticism sa Realse theory, like super to imaginary na siya. Wala ang kasama sa number 1. Number 2 is spelling it. Number 2 is difference principle is hard to accept. People argue inequality comes from natural talents. Like, ang ginakasyonan niya dili kay why should the rich sacrifice their wealth for the poor? Ano ang iyang criticism? Isa sa mga criticism sa Realse. So, ikatulo is social contract is unrealistic. And 4 is rationality defined. Dili mo tanan given of opportunity, like kunyari sa mahirap kunyari ako good nag-seek ko of justice then dili na ko makuha tayo ba kay syempre lack of money, something like that. So dili dahil mahatag ang imo justice na ipangayo. So number 4 is rationality defined generally. Like Realse sa kanang problema kay Realse is Realse only looked at the most efficient way to do things. Like he didn't think about all kinds of goals for the full of cause. Ibig sabihin, it ignores other points. So, in conclusion is, the aim of general theory is people have equal access to basic rights and opportunities. Even though his ideas have been criticized for being too focused on efficiency or ignoring some goals, he still believes that some differences in wealth or power are okay only if they help the people who are the worst or the worst off or katong mga mahihirap or poor, something like that. So according to his idea, we should prioritize justice, fairness, and helping those in need. As a whole, it serves as a reminder that all members of society should benefit from laws and judgments. Thank you.
Go.
Good morning, everyone. So my topic for today is all about libertarian theory. So what is libertarian theory? A libertarian theory is a political philosophy that prioritizes individual liberty, autonomy, and freedom of choice above all else. The libertarian theory, it means the belief that individuals should be free to do whatever they wish with their own bodies and property, so as long they do not infringe upon the freedom of others. So next is the libertarian theory of justice. So one of the proponents of libertarian theory of justice is Robert Nozick, and his theory is known as the entitlement theory of justice. It is fundamentally also known as anti-consequentialist. It means that meaning justice is judged by the process or historical context of how holdings were acquired, not the result, outcome, or distribution. And there are principles of entitlement theory. First, we have the decisive process and not the outcome. It means justice depends on whether the process of the change was voluntary. If exchange is voluntary, the resulting distribution is just, regardless of how regardless of how unequal it is. And next is voluntary exchange. Voluntary exchange is the process where exchange is voluntary and just. Any post-action or policy in the matter of change is unjustifiable. And next is individual choice. Individual choice, a person's free choice must be given full credit. And nine motto, which is from each according to his choice and to each according to what he has chosen. Next is property rights. In property rights, a person should be allowed to pick her own creation, taking a contribution from one citizen to increase the welfare of another. For example, through redistribution taxation. It is unjust because it infringes on their property rights. It is according to the principle of entitlement theory. And next is justice as freedom. According to Nozick, justice means freedom. Any rule or policy that curbs individual freedom is unjust. The concept of freedom is negative, upholding non-interference with anybody's freedom and rights. And next is the principle of just holdings based on three main principles. So we have three main principles. Principle of acquisition. So these are the three main principles. And principle of acquisition, it deals with how people originally come to own something that was previously unowned. And then the principle of transfer, it means it deals with how people justly transfer holdings to others. And the principle of rectification deals with remedying past injustice. For example, like theft, fraud, or violations of rights by the state. And then in Nozick's theory, there are criticisms. First is the perpetuation of poverty. It means if a person does rely on their own creation, the poor, who often have inadequate resource, endowment, and lower ability levels, will remain poor forever. And then the second criticism is increased inequality. By opposing income transfer, or which we call the redistribution from the rich to the poor, the theory is anti-progressive, and it would lead to an ever-increasing level of socioeconomic inequality. And the next one is rigid versus social aid. The theory is considered narrow and rigid in cases where we are seeing some redistributing income from rich to poor could save lives or yield remarkable social gain. Nozick's strict adherence to non-coercion prevents a positive outcome. And next, or the last one, is the neglect of basic freedoms. Neglect of basic freedoms, according to Nozick, it is primarily focused on negative freedoms. He is criticized for being unconcerned with equally important positive freedoms such as freedom from poverty, unemployment, ignorance, and starvation. So next theory is Quranic theory. Quranic theory is the core of the Islamic concept of justice, often referred to as adl. It is centered on establishing justice, which means peace and welfare as a fundamental responsibility of man commanded by God. So adl, or what we call justice, it means and peace. According to Quranic theory, there is justice and equity. And adl means the foundational principle referring to balance, equivalence, and putting things in their rightful place. And the peace, which is the equity, means the concrete application of adl, specifically ensuring distributive justice by giving every individual rights due to sharing in social and economic affairs. And next is the justice, equity, and welfare, which is their comparison. So equality and righteousness. All men are equal, and their distinction is based only on righteousness. So justice is equated with achieving the social good and maximizing welfare for all. It means guaranteed but constraints dictated by religion's prescriptions to prevent misuse of power. And next one is equity, not strict equality. It simply means that differential earnings are allowed, but distribution must be based on equity, not strict uniformity. And for example, individual needs determines the quantity of distribution, like clothes, and the trusteeship of wealth. Wealth holders are trustees obligated to spend wealth to maximize social welfare. And basic needs are what we call ma'ash. It means the guarantee of an honorable living and basic needs for every family, especially the unfortunate. The last one is redistribution mechanism. Redistribution mechanism, there is word that called zakat. It means compulsory contribution to benefit the poor or needy. And the last word, which is sadaqah, which means voluntary offerings or alms for the needy. is judged as just or unjust based on its possible consequence. It means that the consequence of an action or policy are good for social welfare, they are justified. If the consequences are bad, the action is unjust. And then the deontological philosophy, an action is judged as just if it is done as a duty, irrespective of its consequences. So it means that these duties are based on predefined rules such as natural justice, moral principles, codified laws, or categorical imperatives. That's all.
Good day, everyone. So for this part of the report, I will be talking about the Gandhian concept of justice. So first, who is Mahatma Gandhi? Mahatma Gandhi was an Indian lawyer, politician, social activist, and a writer who was the leader of the Indian independence movement against the British colonial rule. So he was considered as the father of the nation, and he is internationally acclaimed for his doctrine for nonviolent protests to achieve social and political progress. So, Gandhi plays a critical role for justice. He observed that justice for the individual is prime and all else comes after that. So, what did he mean by this? So, what he meant by the justice for the individual is prime, okay? The well-being, dignity, and the right of an individual human must come first before any state, society, or any collective goal. So, a society cannot call itself just if even one person is denied their dignity and rights. So, true justice must start at the smallest unit, which is the individual, and only then can a larger social or political system can follow and be considered just. So next, justice constitutes natural universal justice and is based on rights. So this only means that justice is universal, it's for all humans regardless of race, gender, and everything. And it is natural. Natural because at the moment you were born, you already have this, and it is not made or upholded by any laws, but it is all already inherent within you. And for the next one, okay, justice is an unconditional claim to certain rights and is earned by duties. So these rights are universal, meaning for all human beings regardless of race, gender, sexuality, class, and many more. Natural, as I've said earlier, the moment you were born, this is already within you. This is part of your nature. Natural and inherent are the same, are similar in this sense. Inherent within you na do not rights. And inalienable because this cannot be taken away from you by anyone. So, you have the unconditional claim to these rights pero giingon diri earned by duty. So, the duty na ginamin diri kay dili kasabot na you need to perform duties para magka-rights pa ka. This just means that the duties and rights here are inseparable and you need to do these duties for as an individual to uphold your rights. So an example of this kay if you want the right to peace, you must uphold your duty to non-violence. So if you want a peaceful society or environment to live in, you must be a non-violent citizen. You must not bother anyone illegally, and you must follow rules and regulations. Another example of this kind, the right to good governance means the duty to participation, to civic participation. So if you want a good government, you must do your duty as a citizen and follow rules and obligations. So you don't have the right to maghandom of good government if you yourself you don't vote, you don't speak up, You don't hold your leaders accountable if like they're doing something wrong. So yeah. Next we have is the Ganhian concept of justice is influenced by theory of karma. So this places much significance on karma without any attachment and expectation of rewards. So pasabot ra ani kay you must act out of duty, not because it will benefit you or not because of personal gain. Do the right thing because it is the right thing to do, not because it will benefit you. This just means that you must always do the right thing, not only and not expect any rewards. You must be good just because it is the right thing to do. Okay, imagine good if all people do things just because it can benefit them. So murag very selfish and very good ang world na. One specific example kay what if nakakita na nakawatan ka tas wala ra po'y nagtabang nimo, wala ra po'y nagpabalon nimo kay wala man sila ma-benefit if ingnan kanila. So lain po if ingan ang mindset sa all. So it is better to do the right thing just because it is the right thing. You must perform your duty without the fear of punishment and the temptation of reward. And results are out of your control and only your actions are. So in this life we must focus on the things that are in our control. Okay? No sense with no sense you to try to take control of something out of your control na yun. So in this life our actions are in our control. So if we release attachment on results, we won't be that dili ta dali mawadan og gana. We could continue despite the struggles and the setbacks. Kay if you place much on the results, kay paunsa pa ka magpadayon ana. And if you are so attached to the results, you are so attached to being successful, there are instances na you will validate or you will consider non-violent means just to get that goal, just to be considered successful. So, related to na sa Gandhian concept of justice, because justice requires duty-driven action, not reward-driven behavior. Gandhi believes society becomes unjust when people act for their benefit, for profit, for power, revenge, or recognition. Instead, justice grows when people act because it is their duty to uphold truth and protect others, even if they gain nothing. So, non-attachment prevents violence and hatred. If you are attached to results, you start to justify violent means. You become angry when things don't go your way and you seek revenge. Non-attachment keeps action peaceful, patient, and grounded in moral discipline. So, other example po na nung na connected ning Gandhian of theory of karma kay karma emphasizes responsibility, personal responsibility, while the Gandhian concept of justice emphasizes the individual-centered duty. So, because karma teaches that your future is shaped by your actions, not by external forces, while Gandhi's adoption naman kay justice must begin with individuals' own conduct. Instead of demanding only rights, you must also hold yourself accountable and first correct your own actions, because unjust behavior at the individual level produces injustice at the social level. So next we have that justice empowers to enjoy natural rights. These natural rights are the equality of social status, equal economic and social opportunities, and equal enjoyment of freedom. So, Equality of social status is when everyone or every person serves equal dignity regardless of class, gender, religion, or occupation. No one is superior or inferior to others. Everyone is treated with the same respect. Next, we have the equal social and economic opportunities. For Gandhi, justice means that every person should have equal chances to develop themselves, fair access to education, fair access to work, and freedom from exploitation. Because he believed that society becomes unjust when people are denied opportunities because of poverty, class, or discrimination. And lastly, we have the equal enjoyment of freedom. Justice ensures that every person must speak freely, practice their religion, act according to conscience, and have the right to public life. And justice is the prerequisite for non-violence. So, the non-violence and justice, the concept of non-violence and justice kay Gandhi, it's inseparable. You cannot learn one thing without knowing the other. Because his basic philosophy of non-violence is connected with his deep concern about social and economic justice. So, true justice for Gandhi, or what we call the ahimsa, is not just the absence of physical violence. It is a moral stance that is only possible when justice exists. So, non-violence for Gandhi is not just avoiding physical harm, because Gandhi believed that true non-violence is not merely refraining from beating or killing others. It is also about respecting the dignity, rights, and well-being of every human being. And social and economic injustice provokes suffering and violence. So, ang mga social or economic injustice like poverty, it is also a violence against people mismo, because poverty, exploitation, discrimination, inequality are forms of structural violence. When people are denied their basic needs like food, education, work, or fair treatment, they are forced into situations that may lead to conflict or despair. So, example, some people mukapit na sila illegal ways just to survive this life because they are skipped, or their basic needs or opportunities from them are taken away. So wala din sila choice but to maabot na dyan sila illegal ways isahay, or if kunyari sa mga very poor na they can't afford to work one job only, so mapugsan sila mag-work og daghang jobs. So asa man time nila for rest so uban mapilitan mag-take og drugs just to continue working and get and surviving life. Napoy ubang mga people na they sell their own but even if they don't want to, just because na lang jud ang way or much easier or possible way para nila kay wala man sila gihatagan og equal opportunities to strive or to progress in their life po. Because justice is the foundation for non-violence. Gandhi argued that you cannot achieve lasting non-violence in a society that is socially or economically unjust. For example, asking a poor exploited worker to accept oppression peacefully is meaningless if the system itself is unfair. Non-violence can only flourish when people have their basic rights, dignity, and needs met. So, justice of non-violence, guys, this is an example of the Hegelian concept of relations, because Hegelian concept of relation is about how things or concepts exist in relation to each other rather than in one isolation. One concept can only make sense with connection to others. So, another simple example of this guy, teacher and student. What's the point of teacher if they don't have students to teach, or what's the point of students if they don't have the teacher to learn from? So what we have here now is the graph of the Gandhian concept of justice. So first, the claim to natural rights or the inherent fair treatment. So the core idea of this is that all individuals have fundamental rights that must be respected, with justice tied to upholding these rights for all. So Gandhi emphasized this in Swaraj that requires even-handed justice and fair treatment. So next we have is the no harm to the opponent party. So this is also known as the conflict resolution principle. So a just action must not injure either party in a dispute central to the satyagraha. So this is the heart of Gandhian's concept of justice. An action is just when it does not harm either party. So next we have is the absence of duress or freedom from coercion. This is the simplest form of justice or principle of justice, the RAK. Justice means nobody should be forced to act under pressure, even if it is the simplest act. Next we have is the pure justice or the foundation in fellow feeling. The core idea of this is rooted in compassion, mutual care, and shared responsibility. What social justice? The core idea of this focuses on equitable community-oriented fairness that favors the marginalized group or prioritizing the disadvantaged. So this parallels Rawls' theory of justice. So Gandhi note pure justice creates friction-free social orders and must uplift the poor to be meaningful. Next we have is the satanic justice or power-driven self-interest. Ang core idea ni kay it is defined as a modern or western concept. So if ang pure justice kay eastern or ancient, satanic naman kay it is the modern or western concept driven by revenge, selfish gain, and imposing demands through strength. It is wicked in nature, ingon ni Gandhi. Ang example ani kay sa Ahmedabad strike exploitation and World War tactics. So makita po niya sa Philippines kanang mga forced labor, mga child labor sa Philippines. Kanang mga land grabbers po there sa Philippines. Nakuha ang land from mga indigenous people nato. So that is the satanic concept of justice or satanic justice.
Good day, everyone. Today, we will talk about the Gandhi's concept of justice. The Gandhian concept of justice is a rich and balanced combination of different philosophical ideas. Mahatma Gandhi believed that justice is not only about laws or punishment, but about moral duty, truth, and equality. He combined the principle of Kantian philosophy and constitutionalism, creating a system of justice based on both moral actions and their good consequences. Gandhi's view of justice is deeply connected with religions, ethics, and non-violence, and it aims to build a society where all people, rich or poor, strong or weak, are treated with fairness and compassion. So Mahatma Gandhi's concept of justice is deeply rooted in moral values, fairness, and social welfare. For Gandhi, justice is closely connected with fair treatment, equality, and respect for human dignity. He believed that justice should always be tempered with generosity and mercy. According to him, justice without compassion becomes harsh, while generosity without justice becomes unjust. So, according to him now, justice without compassion becomes harsh, and generosity introducing British rule in India, especially in courts, administration, and economic policies. So, in Gandhian philosophy, justice is not merely legal or institutional. It is moral and social justice. It is moral and justice. It is moral and social. Justice means fair treatment. Justice means fair treatment. Fair treatment of all people and protection of natural rights. Three, equality and absence of exploitation. And lastly, harmony between individual good and social good. So, Gandhi believed that Swara, or self-rule, could not be achieved by violating the rights of community, whether it is small or big. Justice, therefore, must ensure quality and dignity for everyone. So there are Gandhian theory philosophical foundations. Gandhian theory rests on the duty of means and ends. Gandhi believed that unjust means could never lead to just ends. His philosophy interrogates morality into every sphere of life: politics, economics, and social relations. The individual is seen as both a moral agent and a social being whose actions affect the collective good. The key principles include Satya. Satya means truth. Satya means truth. It is supreme moral law. Then ahimsa means non-violence. I also learned non-violence. It is a method. And a way of life. Satyagraha is as a violent is an instrument of justice. And sarvo daya as the upliftment of all. duty-based morality. 2. Consequentialism, also called as result-based morality. So, Kantian deontic philosophy, which is also called duty-based morality. This idea came from philosopher Immanuel Kant. Who is Immanuel Kant? Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher and one of the most influential thinkers in the history of Christian philosophy. Immanuel Kant is best known as the founder of the modern deontological ethics, a moral theory based on duty rather than consequences. He believed that moral actions are those done out of a sense of duty and guided by a reason. The word deontic means duty. Deontic means duty. This theory says that an action is right if it is done from a sense of duty and not because of personal gain or rewards. So Kant believed that people must follow moral rules that apply to everyone. These are called categorical imperatives, rules that we should always follow no matter the situation. He also said that we must treat people as ends themselves, not as tools for our own goals. And consequentialism, which means result-based morality. This theory says that what makes an action good or bad depends on its outcome. If the result of your action brings good or happiness to many people, then it is considered right. But if it causes harm or pain, it is wrong. So, the most common form of consequentialism is utilitarianism. So, sa English even, utilitarianism. The greatest happiness for the greatest number. For the greatest number. For the greatest number of people, this means that focus on the results rather than the intention. So from the comparisons of the two theories of Kantian philosophy and existentialism. So in main focus, Kantian philosophy, duty and moral intention, while consequentialism results or outcomes in right action. In Kantian philosophy, doing what is morally right, while consequentialism, doing what produces the best result. Moral basis, following moral duty is Kantian philosophy, and consequentialism, creating the most happiness. Examples sa Kantian philosophy, telling the truth because it's your own duty, while consequentialism, lying if it saves someone's life.